Hello, welcome to this your channel of the Better Eurofan. That's me. After the hypnotic performance brought to us by Constructa in last year's contest, with a compulsive 5G on stage who granted her the 5th place, Serbia moves forward with its participation, offering to us very unique and authentic proposals. And this year will not be the exception for sure. Let's take a look now to the next artist that will take the baton to represent the Balkan nation on Liverpool. Let's go. For today's episode, I'm going to review the Serbian entry for Eurovision 2023, which will be represented by singer Luke Black with the song Samo Mi Se Spava, which in English translates as I Just Want to Sleep. We start checking out his biography and career before having his Eurovision experience. Luka Ivanovic, mostly well known as Luke Black, is a Serbian singer, songwriter and pianist, coming from the city of Šašak in central Serbia and currently living in London, United Kingdom. His interest in music develops by the age of 12 years old, when he starts writing his own songs, and later at 14 he would also start composing and producing his own music. After graduating from a local school, he will move to Belgrade to study English language and literature at the University of Belgrade Faculty of Philosophy. Musically speaking, Luke uses electropop in his musical compositions, combining it at the same time with other musical genres. In his beginnings, he used to be inspired in British artists like David Bowie and the Beatles, but after discovering Lady Gaga, she will make a turning point in his creative process, citing her as his main musical influence. In the other hand, many will wonder about the origin of his stage name, Luke Black. He has commented that Luke is the anglicization of his name, while Black comes from his teenage days, in which he expressed 40 days of mourning for the death of the Serbian musical scene. This probably will influence in his musical style and aesthetic, usually dark and gloomy. Besides his musical career, when he is not doing music or writing songs, he regularly works as a graphic designer. His musical career will begin in 2014, when he is discovered by executives of an important worldwide record label, offering him a record deal, with which he will release his first EP the following year. He will later release in 2016 a single named Demons, which according to local news media, it was one of the nominated songs to represent Serbia at Eurovision that year, but later the Serbian public broadcaster would ultimately select the song Goodbye Shelter, performed by Sanja Vucic in the edition held on Stockholm, Sweden. Shortly after, he embarked on a solo tour on China to promote his EP and his latest single, performing in Beijing, Shanghai and Guangzhou. In 2018, he would release his second EP, and later that year, he will make a hiatus on his musical career, moving to London, United Kingdom. He will start musical studies at the Point Blank Music School, and years later in 2022, he gets the master's degree in music production at the renowned Beam Institute. After finishing his studies, he will resume his musical career, releasing his third EP this same year, although he had a fleeting glimpse of a possible participation of Eurovision in the past. It was not until last year, seeing Constructa winning the Serbian national final, when he got the motivation of attempting to participate in the competition to represent his country at the contest. Let's see how turned out this attempt. Taking into account the very good result achieved last year, the Serbian public broadcaster will make use again of their most recent national final Pesma sa Eurovisiu, organizing the second edition. The submission period was open from early September of last year for Serbian artists and songwriters who wanted to send their proposals, due to close on mid-November at first, but later extended to early December last year, after receiving a total of 200 proposals. A selection committee designated by the broadcaster was in charge of reviewing them, selecting later to the 32 contestants that will compete in the national final. The chosen artists were revealed in early last January, being Luke among them. About the format, the same dynamic from the first edition will remain. 2 semifinals with 16 contestants each one, with the 8 most voted initial qualifying straight to the final. Both the qualifiers from each semifinal and the winner of the final show will be decided with the combination of the votes of the jury and the public. Luke will make his first appearance in the first semifinal, placing 6th after the counting of the votes, thus qualifying to the final show. Then later in that final show broadcasted in early last March, the voting results revealed that Luke was the second most voted artist from both the jury and the public. But curiously, the artists who won each semifinal did not get enough score after their performances, giving Luke an unexpected advantage, getting a tight victory at the national final, and then being the chosen artist to represent Serbia on Liverpool. Intriguing, dark and different, these are my 3 adjectives to describe it. Now here comes the analysis according to what he has presented in his proposal. The melody is an avant-garde electropop track, with elements from synth-pop. It is really noticeable the influence from Lady Gaga in the composition of the melody, quite reminiscent to the style of songs from the albums Vortis, Wait or Octave to have some idea. At the same time, Luke's vocal skills are fine, not too extraordinary, but well adjusted to the style of the song. The lyrics has been written by Luke himself in Serbian and English, but the interesting thing is that this song was not composed recently. He has commented that he made the song on April 2020, in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, with help of some colleagues of him, having finished it in about 15 minutes, describing the process like one of those inspirational moments that rarely happen. However, the song would remain shelved for a long time, until he decided to rescue it to compete with it in the Serbian national final, as I have commented before. Talking about the context of the lyrics itself, Luke has revealed it in this way. It's about sleeping. I spent the last years very alienated from the world, especially throughout the pandemic. I immersed myself into my bed, video games and anime. It's basically about the feeling of isolation that people are feeling throughout the world. Also, I think that sleep is one of the most innocent places where one can go and feel safe outside of the world. It is a quite impactful and transcendental revelation, taking into account how much have affected the pandemic in our lives, especially during the hardest times of it. Reading the lyrics in detail, previously translated of course, describes his wishes of escaping from the feelings of hopelessness and despair. From here, the recurring reference to the fact of just wanting to sleep, to escape from the reality he is living, which seems empty and scary, a clear reflection of the context in which the song was originated. About the message, Luke explains that what he intends to transmit with his song is that people get awake, because evil multiplies when people keep their eyes closed to it, and that only by waking up it can be defeated. It could sound quite metaphorical in some way, but it has much reason of that. In this case, it makes reference about not looking to the other way, or remaining indifferent from the awful reality we are living, but instead taking action and do anything on our reach to at least change things around us. Having reviewed the song, now I'm going to analyze his live performance in the national final, which serves as the official music video release for this proposal. The performance, which is pretty dark, starts with Luke performing the first verse from something that looks like a space shuttle, an alien oyster or whatever it looks like. As the chorus approaches, there are visual graphics with robots from mecha anime, and 4 people, which will be the dancers, completely dressed in black and wearing black masks, bent down and connected by tubes in their backs, then later moving themselves like zombies during the chorus. This is undoubtedly a reference to the hardest times we live during the lockdown because of the pandemic, in which we look like alienated people, wanting to portray it as a zombie apocalypse. During the second verse, Luke gets up and approaches to the center of the stage, later joining him the dancers, to perform a simple but captivating choreography. The zombie dynamic remains the same, until Luke starts to disconnect the tubes from the dancers, one by one, like he was releasing them from the stagnation state they were. Then at the same time, the robot in the lag screen is losing life, like the enemy to be defeated in a video game, while the performance gets a much darker mood, judging by the vocal twists made by Luke, just in the epilogue describing the end of the world in some way. Towards the end they do a different choreography, while the robot is on fire. Then the performance finishes when they stop dancing, and in the lag screen there is the legend enemy defeated, ultimately symbolizing that they got awake. Making a summary of the comments, the Serbian entry for this year is intriguing and interesting at the same time. The Balkan country does not stop to surprise us, with performances loaded with meaning and quite thoughtful, resulting in a very authentic proposal in my opinion. It is about to see in this case how the audience will react to this proposal. For the staging in Liverpool, it could be seen during the rehearsals that he will replicate exactly the same one he has done in the national final, with the expectation of any surprise he could have under the sleeve. In any case, there is no doubt that it will be a very memorable and original performance, whatever is the final result. And you, what do you think about the Serbian entry for this year? Write down your comments below to keep enriching the discussion. And this is it for today's episode. If this video has been of your taste, I invite you to give a like, as well as you can subscribe to my channel, enable notifications, and follow me through my social media. Take care and see you in the next episode. Bye bye.